I'm going to say it. I think
Oh my goodness.
breaks into the top 10 this year.
Ladies and gentlemen, Fourth and Trollers, welcome back to Fourth and Troll Fantasy, the most entertaining fantasy football podcast on the planet. I am Noah Tight Selby.
I am Wes and Selby.
And it is Top 10 Tight Ends Day. Top 10 tight ends. I can't believe we're at this point of the season, Wes. Is that we are literally it's top 10 countdown time, guys. We are that close to NFL kickoff. I mean, there's going to be NFL teams playing each other this week in the Hall of Fame game. That is unbelievable. We will get to see Caleb Williams in
I did
action.
not know that. That's this
Dude,
week.
isn't that wild? This Thursday.
Oh my gosh.
This Thursday is the
crazy.
NFL Hall of Fame game. Yeah. Caleb Williams out there. It's going to be ridiculous.
I was on my way home to record Free Baja Blast, by the way, today.
Come on,
Noah.
dude.
Did you know that's Free Baja Blast today? It's 20th anniversary.
Okay,
after recording, go. No, you don't have to buy anything. Not sponsored. Not sponsored. But
Deal.
Taco Bell, if you want to sponsor us.
Incredible.
Sponsor us. But yeah, getting Free Baja Blast for the episode. Here you go. The nectar of the gods of Olympus.
Fiercest burps ever this episode.
Later on, yeah. And then I was sitting in the drive-thru waiting because obviously a long line for Free Baja. Yeah. And I was like, damn, this feels early. Like, really? We're doing top 10 tight ends? And then I realized, oh shit, it's like August. Oh my gosh, like it's happening. We're here. It's like preseason time. Oh my gosh. So here we go.
Full on. It is full on. We are here counting down the top 10 tight ends for the fantasy football season from yours truly, Fourth and Troll Fantasy. We're excited to talk about some of these guys today and have a grand old time. Before we do all that, check out the description below. We got a bunch of stuff going on. We have a Discord. We are doing our weekly rankings this season. We are giving away a signed James Cook jersey. If you can beat us in fantasy football this year, make sure you get in on that. Down below. We're giving away some exclusive merch as well. All of that link down below. You can also go to patreon.com/Fourth and Troll Fantasy to be a part of that as well. It's going to be a blast. Like, subscribe, ring the bell. Let us know, are you also drinking Baja Blast on Free Baja Blast Day? That's the most important question you can ask. And let's have a blast, dude. It's going to be a super fun time. Wes, we are a few episodes away from episode 100 of Fourth and Troll Fantasy. Can you believe that, dude? It feels like we were celebrating 50 like 4 weeks ago.
I don't really know how to. I mean, we've done so much too because we've also shared just random clips from our episodes or just post and now to think that right now we're recording our 98th episode.
Yeah.
Officially in 2 weeks, 100 episodes of Fourth and Troll in the books.
Pretty
online
ridiculous.
Forever.
Yeah.
Thank you.
It's awesome. Thanks for hanging out with us, guys. We're having a good time. It's going to be a blast. Make sure you stick around for episode 100. Follow us on our socials. Might be doing a cheeky little giveaway or something like that on our socials. Gonna have to go check them out just to see. It's going to be a blast. Before we get into the top 10 tight ends, Wes, a couple pieces of news because there are some quarterbacks in the NFL who are a little bit richer today than they were this time last week.
Yes, they have more money than me. That's for sure. Two of them that recently signed deals, both 4-year contracts. Tua Tagovailoa, $212 million deal with the Miami Dolphins. And then 10 minutes later, Jordan Love signed his contract with the Green Bay Packers. Yeah. Pretty exciting for both these teams. We're Dolphins fans, so we're happy. We get to we like Tua. We support Tua. We think he's great, especially in fantasy when you got Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle, and don't forget Jonnu Smith. Maybe he might show up in our top 10s. Oh, don't forget he's on the team. And then he's not. I'll just let you know he's not in my top 10.
Bury the lead there. He's not here.
So that's it for the news, though. Nothing else, just rumors waiting for CeeDee Lamb to show up. Let's talk about the top 10 tight ends of 2024.
Let's do it real quick. I just want to go. I want to go through a few names of the past, Wes. I took a look
Quiz me. I'm
at,
ready.
at the top 10 tight ends each of the last 10 seasons. And I don't have a quiz or
Okay.
anything. It's just fun to look at some of these names. Back in 2013, shout out to the Dolphins, Charles Clay, a top
Charles
10
Clay
fantasy tight
was
end. Martellus
beast.
Bennett out there in New England.
Yeah, he's a
Julius
painter.
Thomas rocking out in Denver with Peyton Manning.
2013? Yes.
Yeah, dude. Tyler Eifert over there in 2015.
Oh,
Kobe
wow.
Fleener back in 2014. Dude, remember this one?
Trip to memory lane.
Vance McDonald in 2018 for the Pittsburgh
is he?
Steelers. Oh my goodness. Austin Hooper, remember that year in Atlanta? What a
Oh,
guy.
yeah.
Dude, Jared Cook had his name in there a few times. Oh, what a man.
Absolutely.
My personal favorite, Hayden Hurst. And of course, we
Still in
can't
the
go
NFL.
without saying 2022 top 10 fantasy football tight end. That bitch Taysom Hill. My goodness, what a guy. Oh, my goodness. It is an absolute blast here to look at some of these tight ends. I got just a few bullets here real quick, Wes, before we jump into it.
Yeah.
Because I want to talk about over the last decade with fantasy football tight ends. Over the last decade, 74% of top 10 tight ends are either the number 1 or number 2 target on their team. Over the last 5 years, that number jumps up to 80%. And last season in 2023, there was not a single tight end in the top 10 who was not either the number 1 or number 2 target on their offense. A sign of the shifting of the tides a bit, perhaps, of how tight ends are used and how they are effective in fantasy football. Just a few tidbits there for you. And now let's jump into it, right?
That stat. I love that stat. That builds my confidence in my top 10, but that's what I'm talking about. That's what this podcast is for. So people at home don't have to do the research. You find that information and lock in. Don't try to guess.
Locked in, baby.
Because let's jump in. Let's just jump into this here, and let's talk about number 10. Here we go. The top 10 tight ends of 2024. The way we're going to do this, I'm just stealing your intro. I just got very excited. Pardon me.
Do it.
Noah, I'm going to say my number 10. Then Noah says 10. I go 9. Noah goes 9. We go all the way up. Because a lot of new quarterbacks, too, on these teams. And in doing research, the tight ends are pretty straightforward. IMO. It's just like, if they're good, they're great in fantasy. That's just the way that I've seen it. And I mean, speaking of the last 10 years, I think like the last 8 years, Travis Kelce has been the number 1 tight end. There's 1 year where it's Mark Andrews, and then last year was Sam Laporta. But otherwise, it's just Travis Kelce. So let's jump into this. Might be some controversy. Number 10, TJ Hawkinson.
Oh, okay, no. Okay, sorry, I stole your thunder. Hang on. Just forget you guys just saw that. I just want to say real quick, Wes and I do not know each other's lists. Just so this is a surprise to both of us. We have kept this a secret from each other. So, I jacked up your.
That's all right.
The suspense. Go again. Go again.
Number 10, TJ Hawkinson.
Mm-hmm.
I got him barely in the top 10. And I think it has to do with the rookie quarterback. And I think if JJ McCarthy wants to prove eventually when he takes over, if it's Sam Darnold, then all my Vikings rankings are completely out of whack. If it's Sam Darnold the entire year, then, Hawkinson's like top 4. But I'm predicting that eventually JJ McCarthy gets the starting job. And what we will see is McCarthy's going to want to prove he can be a guy. And you're going to have to throw that football to Justin Jefferson. And I think he's going to want to show that he's not someone that can't even throw 3,000 yards. And he's going to try to hit deep balls to Jordan Addison. So I think Hawkinson is too expensive in this year's fantasy football draft. I think he'll be fine. I think there will be some games. He's been known to have, 2 touchdown games with like 40 yards and a couple of catches. But I think this year, not a solid choice for fantasy. So that's my number 10 for tight ends this 2024.
I'll let you know. He's not even in my top 10. You're not going to hear me say TJ Hawkinson's
Whoa!
name. That is because I am not projecting a full season from him. He is coming off a
Oh,
nasty knee injury later in the season from last season. I think it's going to be a slow start for him. I do. I don't know if we're going to get a full season of TJ Hawkinson. That being said, I've got him at 15. So I do think he is involved whenever he's in there. But since we're talking about the Vikings, Wes, I just want to point it out real quick. Did you hear that? Dude, I
no.
think I got a burp trying to come up here. Hang
Need
on.
some
It's going to be like
acid
a
reflux,
baby
dude?
one.
Oh,
That was it, dude, right there.
that was all right.
Little,
That
little,
was like preteen.
just a little. All right.
Yeah, cute.
Vikings schedule to start the year.
Yes.
Week 1 at the Giants. Okay. Sam Darnold starting. Let's probably start at 1-0 there. Then you're at home against the 49ers. You're at home against the Texans. You're at Green Bay, and you're home against the Jets. And then it's your bye week in week 6. I'm calling it now. And I said it on our training camp battles. JJ McCarthy's going to start week 7. JJ McCarthy's going to be starting week 7. That's going to be they're going to start at best 2-3, maybe likely 1-4. Like it is, you're going up against some strong defenses. It's going to be tough there. So yeah, I like it. I like TJ Hawkinson there. My number 10 tight end. Just going to jump over to it. I strongly looked at those stats that I found for us. You're not going to find a guy in this top 10, maybe one guy in this top 10, who will not be a top 1 or 2 target on his offense. So I'm here. I'm ready for it. Locked in. Number 10, Pat Freiermuth. The Muth is gonna get Luth this year with Arthur Smith and the amount of jet sweeps I saw to Jonnu Smith last season. Pat Freiermuth is gonna come out there and be the second target in this Steelers offense for either quarterback that is throwing the football for them. George Pickens, we're expecting potentially a breakout for him. A lot of the fantasy world is. He's going to be the top target on the offense. Pat Freiermuth has no one else really around. Van Jefferson, rookie Roman Wilson. I like Roman Wilson. He's not going to be the second most targeted guy on this offense. And I don't think either of these running backs are actually going to out-target Pat Freiermuth either. I really like Pat Freiermuth as a value in fantasy drafts. If you're getting to a point where the guys that are going in the top 10 rounds or so, you're not really liking anymore, you're just kind of done with it, you can punt the position and you can just go with Pat Freiermuth later in the draft. I like him a lot. I think he's got a strong chance to be the second target in this offense. And I think the Muth is getting Luth this year for the Steelers.
I hope so. I think it's a good one. That's a good one to start out your top 10. His ADP in Sleeper is 125 overall. That's pretty great. You
Love
get a
the
13th
value.
round
Yeah.
tight end. I mean, yeah, and I think there's a couple in here that you and I are going to say just for the value alone is way better than anybody in the top 5, respectively. But yeah, and one of the aspects for the Steelers is there are 2 quarterbacks. It's going to be Russell Wilson and Justin Fields, and right now Russell Wilson is hurt as of today, and so Justin Fields is getting first team reps, and he's also throwing interceptions. So it's all just kind of bad with the quarterback situation. And I mean, they're all throwing interceptions. I'm trying to dig Fields. They're all making mistakes. That's the point of this time. But point being, there's not going to be consistent offense, I predict, between Russell Wilson and Justin Fields, and then he's going to be sporadic. And I think Freiermuth is probably the safest pass catcher of all between him and George Pickens. So that's a good. He's not in my top 10, but I think I thought about him, and I think that's a good case for top 10.
Very nice.
I hope he gets Luth. I want the Muth to get Luth. We were so excited for him last year.
Jump to 9 for us.
Okay, someone that you and I kind of there was a gap last year in where you thought this tight end was going to be. I thought he was top 10. You didn't think it was going to be top 10 at all. I thought it was top 5. And this year, I think he's just making top 10. Number 9, I have Evan Ingram. I think the Jaguars tight end has been very consistent the last several years with Trevor Lawrence. I think he's shown that his great rookie season with the Giants was no fluke. He actually is a good player, well-rounded blocker, pass catcher, makes a difference. And there's still some debate as to who is going to be the number 1, number 2 between Christian Kirk and Gabe Davis. Didn't really work out with Calvin Ridley. when Christian Kirk went down, Evan Ingram really stepped up and became the guy because Ridley wasn't who we thought he was. And so while he may, compared to what Noah just shared with his stats, while he may be number 3, I still think he's just a little too. His chemistry with Trevor Lawrence is too prevalent to fall out of the top 10. And if it could be someone else. I've got other guys I'm pretty sure are in your top 10 that are not in my top 10, but I can't wait to hear who they are. But that's where I've got Evan Ingram at number 9.
I like it. I'll keep these brief. I like just kind of spitballing back and forth here, Wes, and you know, because there may be guys that we end up covering later in the list and stuff like that. So I like Evan Ingram at 8. I think he's a good value, and I think even with the addition of Gabe Davis, or the addition of Brian Thomas Jr., I actually do believe that Evan Ingram still ends up being the number 2 target on this offense for Trevor Lawrence, or Mr. Moneybags himself. So I like Evan Ingram a lot. My number 9 tight end for 2024, man out in the Bay, it's Mr. George Kittle. I have him as my tight end 9 this season, a little lower than consensus, but here's my thing. Ready? This could go up if Brandon Ayuk is gone. It very well could. But the way I'm looking at this, I believe George Kittle, based off of history itself, honestly, he does not tend to be a top 2 target, let alone sometimes even a top 3 target on his own offense. There are times we've seen before where it's just there's Debo, there's Brandon Ayuk, and there's McCaffrey too, and Kittle sometimes becomes that 4th option. Now I know the chemistry between him and Purdy is very strong, but I don't get me wrong, I do really like George Kittle. I just think there are some guys that finish better than him this season. I've got him as my tight end 9. If Ayuk is gone, maybe this shifts up a little bit. It definitely does. So, but I've got George Kittle as my tight end
9. I don't think Ayuk is gone. I think he's going to play.
I don't think he is either.
I've been telling, because I live in California, so there are plenty of 49ers fans that I'm friends with. I've been telling them Ayuk is going to play, and he's going to ball out. I think he's going to
play his ass off, dude.
I think he's going to have an insane season, and he's going to turn to John Lynch and be like, I told you so. And they're going to say, you are so right. You deserve that money. We can't pay you, but you deserve it. So you go find that contract, another team next year. That's why we drafted Ricky Pearsall. And I think this year, though, so it doesn't matter for this year. We'll find out how Ricky is.
Yeah.
I think Ayuk is going to be great. And in fact, I've got George Kittle's number 8. I've got him jumping over to number 8. My 8. So TJ Hawkinson, Evan Ingram, George Kittle, number 8. I am with you on this. I think Ayuk is going to be the superstar. I think Christian McCaffrey is still going to be one of the top pass catchers for Brock Purdy. Debo still, just as you laid it out, there are some games where he's going to be the guy, and you will probably win your week with George Kittle. That might happen twice, 1 or 2 times this season, but overall, I think it's too unpredictable. I think it's draft Brandon Ayuk. If you really like your wide receivers, you want an early wide receiver, I'm saying Ayuk is great, but Kittle's too good to kick him out of the top 10 for me. So he's still 8 for me, but we're in agreement. I love it.
Yeah, we're in very good agreement, Wes. My tight end 8 is Evan Ingram. So we've just got him flip-flopped there as well. Not much more to say on that. We've kind of covered both of these guys here, but both are guys that are going to still play big roles. They may fall behind a few other guys as far as targets go, and we'll see. Evan Ingram, listen, so many targets last season. If he can get in the end zone a little bit more consistently throughout the season, he's going to rise, and he could be closer to that top 5 range. But definitely like Evan Ingram, like George Kittle, a couple of guys there, fun people to cover. I'm not going to give much more to it. We've kind of covered both these guys. Jump over to 7, Wes.
That's fun. Number 7. Oh, let's do it. Let's break the ice a little bit. At some point we got to guess somebody random. We got to look in, read between the lines, figure out, you know what? I'm going to call my shot. We mentioned his name last episode. I'm going to say it. I think Jelani Woods, Colts tight end,
goodness,
breaks into the top 10 this year. So,
I've got him at 11.
To point out.
I've got him just outside my top 10. So you're not crazy. I have looked at it, and I now I understand why you said I love the stats that you just gave us. Now I understand that even more now. Yeah.
Okay, so here, but this isn't just a total gut feeling.
Sure.
Couple things here. Last episode, Noah, we talked about things we're going to pay attention to in the training camp battles, and I just kind of did a whole broad stroke over the AFC South pass catchers because specifically the wide receiver room. And we got to the Colts, and it's Michael Pittman who got a 4-year contract extension with the Colts, and then it's trying to figure out who the number 2 is. Is it Adonai Mitchell, the rookie they just drafted in the 3rd round? Or is it the rookie they drafted with Anthony Richardson, Josh Downs? Who is it? It looks like it may actually be Jelani Woods as the number 2. And during minicamp and OTAs, Colts beat writers were saying, oh, Jelani Woods is kind of getting ready for a breakout. Like he is making an impact, and training camp has just started. So we will find out later on how accurate that is. But look over the course of the last 20 years, think of these mobile quarterbacks. They love throwing to the tight end. I mean, of course, Lamar Jackson and Mark Andrews. You think about Cam Newton and Greg Olsen. Think about Michael Vick and Algie Crumpler. Remember that name? That's a real person's name. They were great together. But I mean, even Justin Fields last year, Cole Kmet was a top 10 tight end, and Justin Fields didn't even play like the whole season. And this is just a thing. Trey McBride, you might hear his name later in this episode with Kyler Murray, a mobile quarterback. Dallas Goedert, 2 years ago when Jalen Hurts was actually running more and they went to the Super Bowl. This is a thing. Mobile quarterbacks love the tight ends. Jelani Woods, I'm calling my shot. Number 7, and you have to type in his name to draft him. If you're buying in like me, you got to actually type in his name because ADP is 236 overall. So unless you have a 25 rounds, we're doing dynasty or whatever it is, you're not going to draft him unless you're actually picking him. There's my shot. Number 7.
Congratulations.
Better than George Kittle.
You've all been given your late round flyer, brought to you by Fourth and Troll Fantasy. There you go.
Yes.
No, I really do. You're not crazy, Wes. I really like Jelani Woods. I don't have him in my top 10 just because I don't necessarily trust the passing volume fully from Anthony Richardson or this Colts offense. I don't know how exactly this is going to go. But the guy is 6'7.5" and 250 pounds. Yeah, throw the guy the football. My goodness. Speaking of 6'7", my number 7.
That was it was -2.
-2 points. My number 7 tight end for 2024. I wanted to be higher, but after looking at some things, I could not be. But I do love him, and it's Kyle Pitts of the Atlanta Falcons. I have him as my tight end 7 this season. I wanted to believe a little harder in the breakout, but I think there's a lot of mouths to feed on this Atlanta offense, and so that's why he's not any higher for me. Call me something, Wes. What am I looking for?
An asshole.
Yeah, call me an asshole. But I think Darnell Mooney might be a bigger name in this offense than we're thinking about. Shout out Sickles High School. Saw a report this week. Guy I went to high school with, Ray McLeod, is apparently firmly the wide receiver 3 for the Atlanta Falcons right now. That was crazy to look at, but shout out Sickles Griffins. Anyways, Kyle Pitts, my 10 and 7. Listen, we love him. You love him. We hate him. You also hate him. We have such a love-hate relationship with Kyle Pitts. But if it was ever a season to do it, it's this season. And it's exciting. He's an exciting player. He's going to play all over the field. He's going to be fun to watch. Sick burp. Buy in. Kyle Pitts should be a difference maker for your fantasy football squads. I'm excited for him. That's my 10 and 7, Wes.
You then don't buy into his ADP. You're not probably going to draft him if that's the case.
No. I have not been drafting Kyle Pitts. I have not been drafting Kyle Pitts in any of my mock drafts, so I'll say that. But
I mean, I got a good feeling
he could be good.
It's
just kind of how my mocks kind of go and how they play out. I like some guys later, so we'll see.
Yeah, I I believe in the breakout, and
Yeah.
I just seen the way Kirk Cousins has been over the last, actually his tight ends have been great. They've been awesome, and outside of Justin Jefferson, no wide receiver has really been super impactful, and that's because Justin Jefferson is, on his way to the Hall of Fame the way he's performing
Yeah.
right now. So I'm buying into Kyle Pitts. So I'll talk about him later.
Yeah. Hit us with number
Not
6.
much more to talk about, but number 6, okay, just outside the top 5, and I think basically top 5. I would say tied, but I'm going to just say number 6, Trey McBride,
Mhm.
Cardinals tight end. That's where I've got him. There's a lot of
Mhm.
hype for this guy, and right
Mhm.
now in Sleeper, his ADP is tight end 3, and
Yeah.
it's pretty early. You got to get him in the 5th round at best. He's borderline 4th round, and there's a lot of anticipation for this guy. I think there will be games where you look at the price you paid and you think, yeah,
Yeah.
see, this is why you do your research. This is why you buy into the names you quote don't know.
Mhm.
You find out like, okay, yeah, this is happening here, and and you saw the way that even Zach Ertz started dominating with Kyler Murray, and then he got hurt, and then Trey McBride has been pretty
Yeah.
good ever since. There's a lot going his way, but I'm just not quite sure how he will play behind Marvin Harrison Jr. And I'm not sure what it will look like if James Conner has a full season, or maybe if Trey Benson, the backup that they just drafted for James Conner, has a bigger impact. But mostly it's because I really feel solid about my top 5. So that's why I
Sure.
say he's probably tied for 5th. But Trey McBride, most of the time worth the price right now for being tight end 3, but I think of it as more of like a 5th round pick.
Yeah, I won't bury the lead here. I've got Trey McBride as my tight end 5. So we're very close here, Wes. I'm going to skip over my 6
Yeah,
real fast just to address it.
please
I
do.
think Trey McBride has the potential to have a kind of season this year similar to the older George Kittle, where it's like, dude has 5 or 6 like tight end 1 weeks, and then the rest of the time he floats around like the tight end 10 or around there, something like that. I wonder how it's going to play out. I have a prediction that this time next year, Trey McBride is in our top 3 tight ends going into 2025. That's just my prediction. We'll see what happens. We'll see how it plays out. But I think he's a special player. I do. And so
Yeah, it's
I've got him as my tight end
possible.
5. Yeah.
Yeah.
To go back, my tight end 6 this season, you know him, you'll love him. It's Sam Laporta. I've got Sam Laporta as my tight end 6. I love him. Amon-Ra got the bag, and I believe he is going to be a big part of this offense. I think Jahmyr Gibbs is going to get an expanded role in this passing game. Jared Goff got the bag, and I believe that Laporta falls to now being the 3rd target in this offense. I do believe Jahmyr Gibbs ends up being the 2nd target in this offense. We're hearing a bunch of Jameson Williams hype, and I just think he doesn't score as many touchdowns this season. I do still believe he is heavily involved. Obviously, he's my tight end 6. For me, though, the price is too high. I'm out on Laporta ADP this season.
I mean, I'm not drafting Laporta.
Mhm.
Even if he was tight end 1, I'm not drafting him because right now you got to get him in the 2nd round. I'm not
Right.
doing that.
Right.
That's not the way you and I draft. That's a bold take. It's a
Yeah.
bold take. You put Laporta out of the top 5.
Just outside.
Just outside, sure. I'll admit I like Jameson Williams, but I don't think he's going to be as big of a difference maker as we want him to be. It's
I
just
agree.
I think there will be some weeks where you're like, oh my gosh, he had like 3 catches and 2 touchdowns for like 145 yards, and that'll be fun.
Yeah.
Here's a little spoiler. I'm not all that high on Amon-Ra St. Brown going into
Oh,
this
wow.
year. Yeah.
He was your big bold take last year.
He was my big bold take, and I got it right. Actually, I was lower.
Yeah.
I had him as wide receiver like 4, and it was too
Yeah,
low.
and he was like, yeah, it was too low.
And you said, "quote," and then I
Mhm.
explained it, and then he ended up being great. But
Yeah.
I'm not all that high on him this year,
Okay.
and I've got Laporta high on my list.
Yeah.
But but I get what you're saying. There are a lot of mouths to feed, but I
Yeah,
think there's a drop off for Laporta. I mean, not Laporta. There's a drop
for
off for
Amon-Ra.
Amon-Ra St. Brown.
Okay. All right. That's fair.
But I get it. It's either way. No matter whether I think he's one or where I have him now, I'm not drafting him because I'm not
Yeah.
taking someone who is. I'm not taking a tight end in the third round, maybe second round. That's insane
Mhm.
to me. To me.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, I get it. Absolutely. Hit me with the 10 and 5.
Tight end 5. You done it. You convinced me. You helped me replace Mark Andrews back in the top 10 for fantasy football,
Okay.
and I've got him as number 5. However, I'm still not drafting him because he's still pretty high on
Yeah.
the list, but he's also in the same round as a couple of players that I've got above him. But Andrews has already made a splash in early off season with OTAs and minicamp, and there were clear signs of them saying Mark Andrews is still Lamar Jackson's safety blanket. He's still the guy he targets when a play breaks down.
Yeah.
I'm not, and you and I had this discussion as Zay Flowers being a potential bust. You and I are in
Mhm.
agreement. Zay Flowers is not going to be worth his draft pick because Lamar Jackson does not produce fantasy relevant wide receivers.
Yeah.
There may be some games where Zay Flowers has a great week, but overall it's Mark Andrews. I do still believe Isaiah Likely is going to take away from Mark Andrews' potential to be top 3. And of course, it's just a matter of how many touchdowns Derrick Henry robs vultures from Mark Andrews. So
Yeah.
I've got him top 5, just barely in the top 5. But you've helped convince me. But either way, his ADP is where a lot of other good tight ends are. And so I just prefer other people at his ADP, which is in Sleeper, it's 47th overall. So he's tight end 4. But I've got other guys I like. But you showed me, you explained it to me. So I want to give credit where credit is due and let you know that he was not even in my top 10 and I managed to put him in my top 5. So
Well, thank you.
nice.
That's exciting to hear. I already hit my number 5 tight end, Trey McBride. We already covered it. So Wes, just take us back to back. Go for it. Who's
number
at 4?
Number 4, where I get excited. This is where I get excited about the tight ends and start to target them and start to draft them intentionally. Number 4, teammate of the player whose jersey we are giving away, Buffalo Bills tight end Dalton Kincaid is number 4. Here's a fun little conversation I had with someone who works for Sleeper. Yes. I was asking them, hey, you keep showing us all these Keon Coleman highlights on the Sleeper app. You're going to show anything about Dalton Kincaid? There's a lot of hype about him. And he goes, yeah, I've been looking at some stuff and sure seems like Dawson Knox going to be more involved. That's going to be disappointing for a lot of players. Hey, guess what? That's a bullshit because Dawson Knox played 12 games last year, okay? And he played with Dalton Kincaid, and Kincaid was the guy, and he's going to be the guy. And of course, Stephon Diggs and Gabe Davis are gone. I'm high in Khalil Shakir, but I'm not high enough to say Shakir takes Dalton Kincaid out of the top 5. So book it. I'm intentionally drafting Dalton Kincaid as my number 1 tight end when I'm doing my mock draft. So there it is. Flex on him. Kincaid season, baby.
I love it. I'll just listen. We're gonna go similar players here, so I'll jump into this. I'm even higher. I was my tight end 3. Dalton Kincaid is going to be magical this season. He's going to be awesome. He's going to be great. I'm excited for it. Draft him. He's going to be awesome. He's going to be the top target in a Josh Allen led offense. He had a great rookie season. People are just talking about Sam Laporta from the rookie year. Dalton Kincaid had like one of the best rookie seasons of all time for a rookie tight end in fantasy football. But Sam Laporta has just outshined him. Dalton Kincaid is going to be magical. I love it. My tight end 4. I love him to death. Cannot get enough of him. Have not gone a single mock draft without drafting him. He is my only plan for tight end. If not, I'm taking Jelani Woods and sending it to the moon. My tight end 4 this season is Jake Ferguson. He is going to be an absolute beast for your fantasy football teams. I promise you. Listen, I feel like every year I try and make the call of the guy who's going later, who you need to draft because he's going to be great. Last year I did it with Darren Waller. It didn't work out. Guess what? He's a quarterback who sucks, who didn't like throwing the football to him, in Daniel Jones. Jake Ferguson, guaranteed to be the number 2 target on his offense, on a high-powered passing offense. Jake Ferguson, the number 1 most targeted tight end in the red zone last season, and it only equated to 5 touchdowns for him. He had 25 red zone targets. He is going to be a man amongst boys. Draft Jake Ferguson if you would like to win your fantasy football league. That is how you will win. He is an absolute value of all values. Jake Ferguson is the man.
I know you're probably right. That's the thing. I just can't figure out. He's not in my top 10, but I think you're right. I think he is top 10 somehow, and it's because, like you said, there's not a clear number 2 on the team. Maybe it's still Brandon Cooks, but the whole drama with CeeDee Lamb does lend itself to Dak Prescott having to find someone else to throw the football to just in case, and obviously go to the guy that he was already throwing football to a lot. Ferguson was already top 10 last year, right? He was top 10.
He was number 9.
Yeah. There's a good chance that you're right, and I just could not convince myself where to put him. I couldn't find a way to do it, but I think you're right. And the point is, I'm taking Dalton Kincaid. I've already said it. I'm taking Kincaid. And then I'm trying to get a second tight end, and I've just slowly convinced myself it may be Jelani Woods.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I may have to, because in every league I'm in with you, you're going to take Ferguson anyway, so I may just have to end up getting Jelani Woods. But
absolutely,
I think you're probably right. I think he is top 10. I don't know if he's going to be that. Was this 4?
Tight end 4. He was just outside my top 3. He is inside my top 5. The touchdowns are going to rise. It will not surprise me if he ends with double-digit touchdowns this season, because you know what? This Cowboys offense is going to be just as high-powered, and who the hell is running the football for them? Ezekiel Elliott? No, if we're inside the 10-yard line, it doesn't matter. It's Jake Ferguson likely will be the top target, even over CeeDee Lamb at that point when he's looking that way. Dak Prescott loves a good old tight end.
He loves tight ends.
I love this guy. Wes, go to tight end 3. Let's close out with our top 3 guys, and let's have a great old night.
This is where I have Sam Laporta, number 3. I believe he will still be great. I think he's overpriced. I don't think it's worth a draft pick, especially in with the need of having good running backs. Essentially, if you're like Noah and I, you're walking out of the first 2 rounds with running backs. First 3 rounds with 2 running backs. Right now, that's our strategy. At least it's still my strategy. Then there's no need to get a tight end, because you're jeopardizing chance for either a third great running back in your set or a great wide receiver. So overall, I don't think Laporta is worth the price. I'm not drafting him, but I still think he's going to have a very good season. And it's inevitable his touchdowns go down. And so I did go back and forth between Laporta as 4th or Kincaid as 4th. Rather, was Laporta 3rd or Kincaid 3rd? And the ADP makes it clear it's Kincaid that I'm drafting regardless, but I think Laporta is the real deal. I don't think this was a fluke. I don't think this was some byproduct of Amon-Ra St. Brown being so great that it left him wide open. I'm not scared about Jameson Williams coming in and stealing targets. I'm not concerned about Jahmyr Gibbs showing up and being this incredibly dominant player that takes away Laporta's opportunities. I think we're seeing a lot of Lions players in fantasy football, the top 10 in pretty much each position. So I'm excited for Laporta. Not drafted him, but he's top 3 for me.
Absolutely. He's going to be great. Listen, the difference, the reality is the difference between tight end 6 and tight end 3 in fantasy football may not be a very large margin as it comes, as far as we've seen from the years past. Unfortunately, that's kind of how it tends to go. But I do believe that Sam Laporta will still be great. The price is pretty high, and there's just a few more guys that I'd rather have personally over you, Wes. Even though neither of us are drafting him, we're just looking at as far as the rankings go. So I've already said my tight end 3. It's Dalton Kincaid. We've covered him. Take it again, Wes. Back to back. Hit us with number 2.
Can you guess? Can you guess who number 2 is?
I know it's between 2 because I've cut them down, and I think you're going hot take city here. So I think your number 2 tight end is Travis Kelce.
It's not that hot. not that hot.
It's
gonna be Kyle Pitts. It's Kyle Pitts. I'm bought in.
Yeah.
I'm bought in. Travis Kelce's not in my top 10. No way. He's not my top 10. That's ridiculous. I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
Thumbnail.
It is real. It's not clickbait. I actually just said that in the episode. We can use it. No, Kyle Pitts is number 2. I'm bought in. I think there's still reason he was the 4th overall pick. I think there's still reason he's the highest tight end ever drafted. I still think there's a reason he made that Florida team so incredible his senior year of college.
Mm-hmm.
I think there's reason he had a bad year his rookie season and was still top 10.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's just he has no quarterback. He's had no quarterback last 2 years. With a bad Matt Ryan, he was great. 1,000 yards. And the whole joke was he had no touchdowns. You can't get worse than that.
No touchdown on American soil.
No. Hilarious.
We score touchdowns here.
Oh, I got a tutty. Yeah, friends. So I think this is just that's how they say it. Yeah. I'm bought in. Point is, I'm bought in. Kirk Cousins produces great fantasy tight ends, and truthfully, I'm drafting Dalton Kincaid, and the next round I'm drafting Kyle Pitts. I'm walking out with both of them. That's my plan. I want 2 top 5 tight ends.
That's gonna be spicy.
That's bullying.
What
I'm
a
bullying
lineup,
my league mates if I do that. But
absolutely.
That's where I'm at. He's Kyle Pitts. If he's not, then I think you and I were saying it. You never drafted him again. You said he was on the verge of being a Jamarcus Russell type bust.
Yeah.
And some comments were like, no one will ever be that bad.
There's
but you
no
get
way
the idea.
you ever can. Yeah. No, yeah.
But
Kyle Pitts is fantastic. He should be an absolute animal for fantasy football. He's going to be great. He should score touchdowns. He should be the second option in this offense.
And I like
one way or another.
Touchdowns. Plural.
Touchdowns.
Plural.
He's going to score multiple touchdowns. Yeah,
yes.
Absolutely. At number 2, I've got Mark Andrews there. I cannot get him out of there. When his pace when he was playing last season, he was on pace to be the tight end 1. I do not think he has lost a step. I think even with Isaiah likely taking a step up in the offense, he's still going to be the guy. I've got him as my tight end 2. I think he's going to be awesome. And I think he's a great value. I personally just prefer Jake Ferguson's value a little more when it comes to guys around Mark Andrews ADP, who I like drafting a little bit more when it gets to when it gets to like Jake Ferguson's round or something like that. But Mark Andrews is going to be a difference maker for your team, for fantasy football, and we both have agreed he's going to be a top 5 tight end. He's going to be there, no doubt about it. So, do we even need to talk about the last guy, or is it just?
You should.
Travis Kelce,
because
and then cut the black.
Because we need to explain or reaffirm trollers why he's still the tight end 1 after the disappointment of last season.
Yeah, listen, I don't know if a Patrick Mahomes-led offense can be less exciting than it was last season. This offense has playmakers again. This offense is going to be higher up in points per game. This is going to be a more exciting offense to watch. Travis Kelce will be used strategically in this offense. They may limit reps so that he's more healthy down the road, as we saw last year, but he's still going to be great. He's still going to be an absolute stud, and he's still going to be the guy when it comes to Patrick Mahomes looking around for a guy to throw the football to. It's going to be Travis Kelce. My tight end 1, your tight end 1.
My tight end 1. Do you think there is a scenario where you draft Travis Kelce? Because that's the big question. Is his ADP worth it? Because we know what he's done the last 7-8 years. We know how good he is. We know he's arguably the greatest of all time at the position. And a bounce back is going from 3rd to 1st. But 2 years ago, over 100 points over the next closest tight end. Are you considering in any of your leagues drafting Travis Kelce, or are you set on the value with Jake Ferguson, Jelani Woods, maybe an Evan Ingram? Or
I like the price.
Going in?
I do like the price. I just can't see myself drafting him with who's around at the ADP. It depends on roster structure. I really do think it depends on if you're starting out with with a stud wide receiver and a stud running back, I don't really have an issue if you want to take Travis Kelce in the third round. I think it just depends on roster construction. I really do. Personally, myself, with how I see how you build a winning fantasy football team this season, I personally don't. I grab the value on those, potentially your only position. I've heard some people call it the onesie positions on the quarterback, on the tight end. I think you grab the value there so you can stock up on your wide receivers, on your running back. So it's tough because Travis Kelce should be great. We both have him as our tight end 1. And yet I'm kind of fine when I'm like scrolling down my ADP list and I pass him. Like, I'm fine with it.
Yeah, just real quick, just to give an idea for the listeners on where his ADP is. So his ADP, Travis Kelce's ADP, is 25th overall on Sleeper. That's middle of the third round. Your choices around him are Josh Allen, Brandon Ayuk, Travis Etienne, Devon Achane, Derrick Henry, Josh Jacobs, Nico Collins, and Mike Evans. Those are really great players.
There's like a lot of those guys that I would like. If I was one or the other there, I'd go with the other. Like,
and then it's like 2 rounds later almost before it's the next tight end, Trey McBride.
Yeah.
And then it's Mark Andrews and Kincaid and then Pitts. So I think that's why you and I it's not the price. I'll agree with you. His price is good, but the price for the other players around him are better. For me,
yeah,
a chance to have Devon Achane in the third round is insane.
Yeah,
insane to me. Easy. So that's where I'm at. Ayuk in the third round, forget about it. Yeah. Oh my Lanta.
Absolutely. Listen, top there 10 it is. Tight ends. We've dropped the top 10 tight ends on your faces. There you go. They're there. Look at them. Peel them off and look at them, and then drop in the comments which one you like the most. Let us know if you got anyone else in your top 10 that we didn't list. We always love hearing that. And make sure you're following us on all our socials. Make Tight End Patrol smile by liking, subscribing, and ringing the bell. Make sure you stick around for episode 100 here in just a few weeks. It's going to be a blast. We're going to have a great time. My name is Noah Selby.
And I'm Wes Selby.
And this has been 4th and Troll Fantasy. 4th and Troll Fantasy is a production of FQ Media Group and Selby Artistic Workshop.